From Social Prosperity Partners, this is Community Catalysts.
I believe it's patriotic to make your community better. I think it is really patriotic to fight to say, we can be better than this, and I believe in us, and I believe we can do it.
I think we have to really up our engagement game rather significantly, to the extent that we need to communicate as much as possible about what our mission is, what our vision is, what our values are as an organization, and ultimately what our goals are, to make sure that all of our kids learn at really high levels.
I've always been on that side where I'm saying I'm not just a file, and now I'm sitting on a side where someone's coming to me and saying, my child is not just another student, or I'm not just another employee.
Social media is media. So whether we like it or not, whether we've had a positive experience with it or not, or whether it has societal ills or not, we have to fix it.
Welcome, I'm your host, Matt Lehrman. This is the 100th episode of Community Catalysts. And I've been thinking about that. 100 conversations, 100 chances to sit with leaders, listen, learn, and try to better understand what this work of local leadership really looks like. And as I've been reflecting on it, I keep coming back to a memory from childhood. I remember going to a place called Nunley's, probably 3rd or 4th grade. Birthday parties, Cub Scouts, the kind of place you went to more than once, and each time it felt like an occasion. Now, it's important to say this wasn't anything like Disney World or Coney Island. It was a much simpler place than that. Just a collection of outdoor rides arranged around a central pavilion. And the pavilion itself had walls that could be opened up when the weather was good, so everything felt connected, like it was all happening together in one shared space. A place for kids, small rides, manageable rides, but the carousel, the carousel was something else. It felt older, more substantial, almost dignified. Painted horses going up and down, mirrors catching the light, music that had a kind of permanence to it. And if you stood there and watched for a moment, you realized something else. There was a kind of hierarchy to it. At the very center, you had the babies and toddlers held tightly by their parents, perched upon horses that didn't move at all, completely safe, completely secure. Just outside of that were the young kids, who had just been granted their first real taste of independence and danger. They were allowed to ride the horses that went up and down. You could see it on their faces. Part pride, part concentration, part, I really hope I don't fall off. And then, along the outer edge, were the big kids. They got the full experience, up and down horses, and the added challenge, because as the carousel turned, there was this metal arm extending out towards the riders, holding a stack of rings. And if you were on the outside horse, you had a chance. But it wasn't as simple as just reaching. You had to time it, to stick out your hand, and then further still your finger, because your horse was moving up and down, and the carousel itself was rotating, yet the rings were fixed in one place. So to have any real shot at it, your horse had to be at the very top of its rotation at the exact moment you came around to the rings, which meant you were calculating, or at least trying to, leaning out, watching, adjusting, hoping, and then reaching, not just out, but up and out, really stretching for it. No seatbelts, just your balance, your grip, and your willingness to go a little farther than felt entirely comfortable. Most of the rings were steel, but one of them, just one, was brass. And if you grabbed the brass ring, you got a free ride. I remember watching the big kids do it. They knew the timing, they knew the reach. They'd grab a ring, sometimes miss, sometimes connect, and every once in a while, someone would get the brass ring. And here's what I remember about myself. I was too small to reach it. Maybe I was too afraid. I knew exactly what to do. I could see it. I understood the system. I just couldn't get there. And what stayed with me all these years isn't frustration. It's wanting. That feeling of being close enough to understand, but not yet able to act. Eventually, I'm sure I grew tall enough, but that's not the part I remember. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that feeling shows up all the time in the conversations we've had here. Over these 100 episodes, we've heard the good, the bad, and the ugly of local leadership. We've heard stories where things come together, where people find alignment, build trust, make decisions that actually move a community forward. We've also heard about the moments when that doesn't happen, where trust isn't there yet, where timing is off, where fear is present, where people are talking but not really hearing each other. And then there are the situations that are just hard, messy, emotional, the kind of moments where leadership feels heavier than anyone expected. But in all of it, there's this common thread: people reaching, leaders who can see what's possible, communities that understand what better could look like, people doing their best to move something forward even when they're not quite there yet. And it makes me realize this podcast has never really been about celebrating the moment when someone grabs the brass ring. It's been about the reaching, about staying in the conversation, about continuing to listen, about showing up even when it would be easier not to. Because that's where the real work happens. That's where trust starts to build. That's where understanding begins. That's where communities move, even if it's just a little at a time. And none of that happens alone. So as I sit here with this 100th episode, I want to say thank you to every guest who's joined me. Thank you for your openness, your honesty, and your willingness to share the full picture. And to my editor, Nick, Living the Dream Tantillo, thank you for making this sound so good week after week. And to my partner emeritus, John Little, who, like in so many other ways, saw the significance of what this could be before I did. Thank you for your belief, your encouragement, and as always, your partnership in this. And to you, listening, thank you for being a part of this, for sharing episodes, for your questions, your suggestions, your encouragement. This only works because you care to listen and engage. And I am genuinely excited for what comes next, because these conversations are continuing to grow, not just here on the podcast, but in new ways through my Substack column, Democracy Runs on Dialogue. You'll find a link in the show notes. I'm opening up another space to reflect, to explore ideas, and to keep these conversations going. Same purpose, just another way to engage. And as you listen to this, you may find yourself thinking about your own version of that moment, something you can see clearly, something you understand, something you may still be reaching toward. And if that's the case, I'd really welcome hearing about it. Sometimes it's a question, sometimes it's a reflection, sometimes it's just something you've been sitting with that doesn't have a place to go. If you feel like sharing it, you can call me, 602-688-2724, and leave a message. I listen to every one. And more often than you might expect, those messages shape where these conversations go next. And every once in a while, someone decides to step a little further out, to share more fully what they've experienced in their own leadership journey. If that's something that you'd ever consider, there's a simple way to do that. You'll find the podcast guest link in the show notes. Because just like those moments on the carousel, what you've learned, what you've seen, even if you're still reaching, may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. 100 episodes in, and just like you, I'm still learning, still listening, still trying to understand more deeply what it takes, still in many ways reaching. And maybe that's the point. maybe leadership isn't about grabbing the brass ring every time. Maybe it's not even about whether you get it at all. Maybe it's about staying in the ride, staying in the conversation, staying connected to one another long enough to grow into what's possible. Because if there's one thing these 100 conversations have made clear, it's this: the future of our communities depends on our willingness to keep reaching together. Because in the end, democracy runs on dialogue. We'll be back soon with another Community Catalyst.